Okay, welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been up here, so I just sort of to run through all the tools that I've got for the next part of the build, which is to weld the panels on. So I'll start running through. I've got them laid out here. I thought I'd get another angle grinder because the old one that I had was getting quite long in the tooth, so this one wasn't too bad. This way I can just have a cutting disc on it, so I can just do the sheet metal. I did buy some air tools last week, but I found the air compressors not big enough, so after a sustained use of a minute, they start dying in power, so I've decided I'll do all my cutting with an electric angle grinder. It's going to be a lot easier. As I spoke about last week, I was going to talk you through some panel alignment tools, and these are the ones that I got, which you've all probably seen before, but if you're a do-it-yourselfer like me, so what they are is basically like a little bracket, a little square tube, and it's got a little 1mm piece of sheet metal in there with a clip, and you basically put the two panels in between that there, slide it in, and then it butts up behind the panel. You put this little square, and then you can tighten the tension with this little butterfly clip, and then that draws the two panels together so you can get more accurate joins when you're welding. So you get your two panels, you put a few across, and then when you're welding, you know it's going to be completely accurate. So well worth 25 bucks from eBay. That's $25 for 8 all up. So not exactly cheap, but there's a bit of work in actually developing them, so I can understand why. You probably see that my welder, which I spoke about last week, it's a 135 amp SIG Weld welder that I got through eWelders online, and it's capable of doing gas and gasless. So I know with sheet metal you really do need to have a shielding gas, otherwise it's just going to be too messy, so that's why I went for that unit. It's relatively inexpensive as welders go. It's around about $535 for everything that you see there. There's a stand. It came with two welding gloves, a pre-automatic darkening visor, which is essential, and some gasless wire. So because I'm doing shielding gas, this is no good to me. It's also 0.8mm. I've also found out that you need to have a 0.6mm of wire for sheet metal just to get a more accurate weld. And as far as the shielding gas goes, I was doing the research, and shielding gas can be very expensive. A lot of the units over the past you've had to actually hire the bottle, and then that way you pay a rental fee per month, and then when it's empty you go and fill it up and swap the bottles. Now you can actually buy the bottles once they're empty, go in, swap it over, and you can do it at Bunnings, but the initial deposits are still around about $300, and the bottle itself's around about $200. So because I'm not going to be doing a huge amount of welding, I found these cool little disposable units through eWelders as well. This is an argon CO2 mix, and it's 2.2 litres in volume, and it will give you around about 30 minutes of welding time. So that comes with regulator, which you put in the top, which is a requirement for regulating the flow that's coming into your welder, and also a connection valve. So for people that are starting out and don't want to over-invest in the equipment, I personally think as a DIY guy, this is going to be a great little starter kit for me to start welding, and then if I get more serious down the track, I'll go and hire a big bottle. Okay, so I'll just talk you through the actual panels we're going to be doing today. I'm going to attempt to do the back quarter panel, and as you'll see in a minute, there's actually quite a bit of damage. So yeah, I'll talk you through the panels and also then start doing some cutting. All right, here we go. Okay, so this is the first panel I'm going to attempt. As you can see, I've already cut out a little section here just to see, how much damage there is, and you can see here that the rust is actually eaten through here, but also eaten out the back side of it. So, because that's an enclosed panel between here and here, there's actually like a void that you can't access from the back. So in order to fix that inside section, I'll have to then take this out and then weld up a section here and there to stop the further water getting in once this is fixed. Otherwise, dirt and material will just get in there again, and then the same thing will happen. So yeah, the idea is, you know, that panel is obviously reasonably good fit, but now it's just a matter of lining up. I don't want to drill cut just here, because obviously if I make a mistake, then you know you could risk having to then fill in a gap here. So I'm going to try and do it a little bit lower, so just in case I do stuff it up, I can always just get another panel here and I can have another go. So I'll probably have to trim around this section, and I've been debating whether to remove these spot welds here or just cut it there and then join it up. But I'm thinking I might just get rid of all this here, and then that way I can have access to the back and fix it up properly. And it's going to mean more work, but I think in the long run it's probably a better way to do it. So anyway, I'll start by drilling the spot welds out and then get into the cutting of the panel. Okay, so I've cut that section out, but yeah, you can see why it's important to get that off, because you've got whacking great hole there, just filled with bog, and you can see the dirt just goes right up the back there. So you know, you can see why it's important to fix it. And then you can see the actual panel here. So whoever's done this has just done a bodgy job. Yeah. So now that I've got that section done, I can then now just sort of play around with getting this bottom section off, and then I'll start sort of cutting the finished panel. All right, so I've managed to cut some sections out in behind this quarter panel, and as you can see, it's quite a bit to actually fabricate, which makes me a little bit nervous. But anyway, this is the panel that's come off. So I've broken it up into two little fabrication parts that I can have a go at. And this section here goes in there. So that's just part of that back panel, which shouldn't be too hard to fix, but there's in front of that, there's this little sort of tricky angle section that the quarter panel skin's going to be resting on. And then that back panel like that. So I'm going to have to fabricate that, and then in that front section there, I'm going to have to put a little extra bit of work, but it's going to have to be done, so stay tuned. Okay, so I have fabricated my first piece for the rear quarter panel. So this is what the first one was. So yeah, completely fucked. This is the new piece. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's turned out all right, so hopefully it fits. All right, so here's the test fit for this panel. I've just got it held in a couple of magnets there, but pretty good. It's actually a very hard piece to fit because there's a couple of angles going on here. There's one sort of coming in there, and I guess that's because you need access to actually get to that screw with that bell housing there. And then it comes around, and you've got to just have it just so that it has enough gap behind it so that sheet in front of it can fit on. So lines up pretty good. There's a slight gap just in the top there, but I'm a little bit concerned about, so too sure if I can fit that. But yeah, I'll see if I can maybe build up some welds with that. And yeah, so far so good, so I'm pretty happy. All right, sort of talk you through how I did a patch panel for those who haven't done it before. Basically, the gist of it is that you get a piece of cardboard and then you put that behind the area that you've cut out, trace around it, put the fold marks in with a dotted line and then the cut marks with an actual hard line. And I find that that way you get an indication of where it's folding, and you can even put arrows to which way it does fold. Once you've cut that little template, get a permanent marker and put it flat down on sheet metal, I find, is the best, and then you just mark around that template and then cut to the outside of the texture mark so that you don't have a mil difference. Otherwise you'll find that you won't actually fit perfect because of the width of this. Depending on what texture you use, you can see that's at least 2 or 3 mils. So you make sure you do it on the outside of the texture so you get the right fit. So now that template's cut out of sheet metal, I've marked out where it's actually going to fold. So this will sort of fold, will go in and that will come up. This forms part of the inside guard of the quarter panel in which I'm repairing. So far I've done 3 patches, and they're not perfect, but you can always use a hammer and dolly once it's welded in place just to finesse the fit, because you're never going to get it perfect. It's very, very hard, especially as a beginner. So yeah, that's how you do patch panels. Okay, so here it is, the finished result. Those 2 patches, well, there's actually 3 patches in the end. You can see from the initial cutout, so from the previous footage, this section here was the first patch. You know, I did some welding and some test welds, and I got my welding beads better and my tacks better. But, you know, it's far from perfect, that's for sure. There's a lot of sort of gunk on the top. But because I had to fabricate this sort of join here, this bend, you know, I couldn't really get in there and grind it. So most of it's gone, and I'm pretty happy with that. You'll never see this anyway, so, you know, as long as it's structural, that's the main thing. And then this tricky section here, it's come up pretty good, pretty happy with it. So it's come in, it's got a little bell housing. It comes up this section here, and it's all sort of shaped. And then inside it's got a fold that follows the inside of the wheel well. And it's got a little lip down there, which is a bit crude, so I might fix that up. But that just holds the quarter panel skin when it comes down, so you won't even see that anyway. I created a little spot weld there. But yeah, I've run out of gas, so yeah, I can't really do too much more welding. It's a bit dirty at the moment, so I'm going to get some more gas. So anyway, that's it. So yeah, that's the first structural part done, and then now it's going to be the tricky part of actually cutting this patch panel for this quarter panel skin. So stay tuned for that. Okay, that's it for another episode. I managed to do the welding, which I'm really happy about. Did 3 patch repairs and did that whole inside quarter panel really well. So just got to get some more gas to tidy up the welds, but it's pretty much solid and structural, so it'll definitely hold the outer skin once I do that in next week. And that's going to be quite difficult with the welding because it's obviously going to be an exterior shot. Excuse me. Yeah, because it's an outer skin, the welding has got to be spot on, so I've got to get my gas system right. As I said, the gas tank that I got, the disposable gas tank, I'm sure they're good, but I was disappointed with them because the valve that they sent me didn't actually fit the tank itself, and I rang them, and they said that they'd got some new tanks in, and so that the valves were unfortunately not fitting the new tanks, and they said they had tested them, but yeah, so it was $90 and really had no regulation of the gas, so the flow was irregular, and therefore my welds suffered, and as a result it leaked the gas, and now it's empty, so I don't have any gas. So I think these are good, but I just got a raw deal, so I don't know what I'm going to do next time. I think I'll probably go to Bunnings and get one of their bigger gas tanks, so therefore I can have a lot more gas, because this was only half an hour's worth, and I think they'd probably sped that up because it had the leak. But yeah, happy with the new tools. This weld is a good little weld. I recommend getting a unit. 135 is perfect for sheet metal. You don't need to do anything else. It goes up to 6 mil in depth anyway, even if you wanted to do some bigger welds, but look, that's fine for me. Yeah, and this, I needed a toolbox because here there's no security, and I've got tools lying all over the place, so this is great. And they're not cheap, but they've got a special on at the moment. It's super cheap auto I got it from. And by the way, I'm not getting paid for any endorsements of this stuff. This is purely I'm just showing you the tools that I've got. I like this Tool Pro cabinet because it's green, fluoro green, and it's actually a really good, well-made cabinet. Got all the drawers, so I can put all my air tools, and I can put all my power tools in here. It's all lockable, and then all your spanners and wrenches and all that fiddly stuff you can just put in drawers here. Panel beating tools. It's bloody good. It's made a huge difference actually, so really glad I got it. They got some good deals on it at the moment, as I said, like 40% off these. So they're really expensive, but now they're sort of within reach. So anyway, that's it for another episode. So next week I'll be getting into the outer skins and pretty much doing more welding until it's all done. And then I may even throw a bit of an engine episode in there as well, because I'm going to take it down to this guy in Melbourne, and he's going to assess what we need to do with it. So until next time.